Imagine waking up tomorrow morning with a strong, reliable erection, the kind you had in your 30s. No medication, no supplements, just your body functioning the way it was designed to function. Now imagine that the single biggest thing standing between you and that outcome is something you do in the first 30 seconds after your alarm goes off. Something you do every single morning without even thinking about it, and something you could stop doing tomorrow. That is exactly what this video is about. I am going to show you the 30-second morning mistake that is silently blocking blood flow to your penis, and the science behind why it matters more than almost anything else you do for your sexual health. I'm Dr. Cross, 18 years of clinical practice in men's sexual health, and I want to start with something most men don't know. The morning erection, what most people call morning wood, is not a random occurrence. It is not embarrassing or irrelevant. It is one of the most important indicators of your vascular health that your body produces every single night. During sleep, your body cycles through erections approximately every 90 minutes. These nocturnal erections are driven not by arousal, but by the autonomic nervous system, specifically by the parasympathetic branch, which is the calm, restorative side of your nervous system. Their purpose is to oxygenate the penile tissue, maintain the elasticity of the smooth muscle inside the erectile chambers, and essentially keep the vascular machinery in working order. When a man stops having morning erections, or notices them becoming weaker and less frequent, that is almost always a signal that something has changed in the underlying vascular system. It is one of the earliest clinical signs of erectile dysfunction, and it appears years before most men realize they have a problem. So the question is, what is happening in the first minutes of your morning that either supports or undermines that system? Let me break this down for you. The moment your alarm goes off, your body launches into what scientists call the cortisol awakening response. Your adrenal glands flood your bloodstream with cortisol, your primary stress hormone. This happens to everyone. It is biology. Cortisol rises sharply in the first 20 to 30 minutes after waking, sometimes by as much as 50% above baseline. The purpose of this surge is to mobilize energy, increase alertness, and prepare your body for the demands of the day. For your ancestors, this made sense. Waking up meant immediately navigating a physical world. But here is the critical problem for your sexual health. Cortisol and testosterone are direct biochemical antagonists. They compete for the same precursor molecule in the steroidogenesis pathway. When cortisol is high, testosterone production is suppressed. And testosterone is not just about libido. It is directly involved in the maintenance of nitric oxide production in the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels. Less testosterone means less nitric oxide. Less nitric oxide means less vasodilation. Less vasodilation means less blood flow. And less blood flow to the penile tissue means weaker erections, or no erection at all. This morning cortisol surge is unavoidable. But here is what most doctors won't tell you. What you do in the first 30 seconds after waking dramatically determines how high that cortisol spike goes, how long it lasts, and how severely it suppresses your testosterone for the rest of the day. And the single worst thing you can do in those first 30 seconds, the mistake that millions of men make every single morning, is reach for their phone. Here's what most doctors won't tell you about your phone. The moment you pick it up first thing in the morning, before your nervous system has had any chance to transition out of sleep, you are hit with a cascade of information, notifications, emails, news headlines, messages, social media. And your brain, which is still in that semi-alert morning state, begins processing all of it as potential threat. Did something go wrong? Is there bad news? What requires my immediate attention? Your stress response, already elevated from the cortisol awakening surge, receives a second wave, a second hit of adrenaline, a second spike in cortisol. Scientists have a name for this, digital stress loading, and its hormonal consequences are real and measurable. A study out of the University of California found that people who check their phones within the first few minutes of waking show measurably higher cortisol levels, not just in the morning, but throughout the entire rest of the day. Not just for an hour, for the entire day. That means your testosterone suppression is not a brief morning phenomenon. It is a sustained biochemical state that follows you from the moment you picked up that phone until you go to sleep at night. And every hour of elevated cortisol is an hour of reduced nitric oxide, reduced vasodilation, and compromised blood flow to the penile tissue. Now here's where it gets interesting. I had a patient, let's call him Tom. 42 years old, senior executive, high-performing in every area of his life. He came to me because his morning erections had essentially disappeared over the previous 6 months. Not weak, gone. He wasn't experiencing ED during sex yet, but he knew something had changed. His testosterone came back low normal. I asked him one question: what is the first thing you do when you wake up? He told me he checked his email. He worked across multiple time zones and felt he needed to know immediately if anything had happened overnight. I asked how long this had been going on. He said about 6 months. The same 6 months his morning erections had disappeared. I told Tom that his phone was suppressing his testosterone every single morning before he had even gotten out of bed. He looked at me like I had said something absurd. 6 weeks later, he came back and told me the morning erections had returned. He had done one thing differently. He left his phone in another room and did not touch it until after breakfast. This is backed by real science, not internet nonsense. The mechanism is well established in the endocrinology literature. Cortisol suppresses the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, the hormonal cascade that drives testosterone production. When cortisol is chronically elevated in the morning, LH, luteinizing hormone, which signals the testes to produce testosterone, is suppressed. Testosterone levels measurably drop, and that drop, even within the normal range, is sufficient to impair endothelial function and reduce nitric oxide availability in the penile vasculature. The math is simple and the biology is consistent, but the phone is not the only morning mistake that blocks blood flow. There is a second mechanism at work in most men every morning that compounds the damage, and it is dehydration. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, your body has lost significant fluid. You have been exhaling moisture with every breath. You have been perspiring through your skin. By the time you wake up, your blood volume is reduced and your blood is more viscous, thicker. Thicker blood moves more slowly through the narrow vessels of the penile tissue. It requires more pressure to perfuse the erectile chambers. And in the context of cortisol-induced vasoconstriction, where your blood vessels are already tightened by the morning hormonal surge, that combination of thicker blood and narrower vessels is a direct impediment to the blood flow your penis needs to function properly. Most men wake up, skip water entirely, go straight to coffee, which is a diuretic and pulls more fluid out of the system, and spend the first hour of their day in a state of maximum blood viscosity. That is the exact opposite of what the penile vasculature needs. The third morning mechanism that most men overlook is breathing. Specifically, the shallow, rapid breathing pattern that most people fall into when they wake abruptly and immediately reach for their phone or their responsibilities. Shallow breathing keeps your nervous system locked in sympathetic dominance, the fight or flight state. And sympathetic dominance means vasoconstriction. It means elevated cortisol. It means suppressed testosterone. Your blood vessels cannot dilate properly when your nervous system is in crisis mode. The parasympathetic nervous system, the calm side, is the one that activates vasodilation and supports erections. And the fastest way to activate it in the morning is through intentional, slow, deep breathing before you do anything else. So what does the correct morning look like for a man who wants to protect his erectile function? It is simpler than most men expect. When your alarm goes off, do not reach for your phone. Do not get up immediately. Lie still for 60 seconds and take 5 slow, deep breaths. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Let your belly expand, not your chest. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. This single practice activates the vagus nerve, the main pathway of your parasympathetic nervous system, and begins to reduce that cortisol surge before it reaches its peak. Then sit at the edge of your bed for 30 seconds. Let your body adjust. Then stand slowly. Before you touch your phone, before you make coffee, before you do anything, drink 2 full glasses of water at room temperature. This begins thinning the blood immediately, restoring plasma volume, and improving the viscosity of the blood that will soon be flowing through your penile vasculature. Then, if possible, step outside or stand at a window and let natural morning light reach your eyes. Morning light triggers a neurological signal that regulates your cortisol rhythm. People who get morning light exposure consistently show lower peak cortisol levels and more stable testosterone throughout the day. Sunlight on skin also triggers nitric oxide release from the endothelium, a direct vasodilatory effect that benefits erectile tissue. And delay your first cup of coffee by at least 60 minutes. Let your cortisol naturally peak and begin its decline before you add caffeine to the equation. Your heart will be calmer, your blood pressure will be lower, and paradoxically, the coffee will work better because your cortisol will have dropped enough that the caffeine provides a genuine alertness lift rather than simply stacking more stimulation on an already overloaded system. If you take one thing from this video, make it this. Do not let your phone be the first thing your nervous system encounters in the morning. That single change, leaving your phone out of reach for the first 30 minutes after waking, could be the most meaningful thing you do for your erectile health this year. Not because it is magic, but because the hormonal cascade it prevents is real. The testosterone suppression it causes is documented, and the blood flow consequences are direct. Your morning erection is a biological report card. Protect the conditions that allow it to happen. Lie still, breathe first, hydrate before anything else. Let your nervous system come online before the world rushes in. Those 30 seconds of stillness may be the most important 30 seconds of your day. I have put together a complete morning protocol specifically designed for men with ED, covering everything I walk new patients through in their first month, including how to structure the first 60 minutes of your day to maximize testosterone, nitric oxide production, and blood flow. The link is in the description. If this was helpful, hit subscribe. I put out new videos every single day to help you take control of your health. I'm Dr. Cross, and I'll see you in the next one.